I went ahead and pulled out my Sloan travel bag, which I made several years ago, to show you kind of like a demonstration of how I used this key holder in a bag. And this is Tim Holtz fabric. I love this matte print, and I actually bought more recently just so I'd have some more in my stash. But this bag actually has a key holder on the inside. Let me see if I can show you this. So it's got elastic in it, and one end attaches to the inside of the bag with a swivel clip and a D-ring, and the other end also has a D-ring. So you can attach your keys to this clip. If you need to unattach the whole clip from the inside of the bag, you can. And it's just long enough so that it's, when it's inside the bag, basically any sized bag, you can have your keys attached to the clip and just go ahead and grab your keys while still keeping them clipped to the inside of the bag, which is really handy for always knowing where your keys are, number one. And number two, since you can keep your keys always clipped, it's safe as well, because after you're done opening your door, you can just go ahead and put the keys back in, and they're always safely clipped to the inside of the bag. So let me step over to the side camera and show you how to make and attach this to any bag. Okay, so here is that key portion that I just took out of the Sloan travel bag, and as you can see, it's got some elastic on the inside. So you'll need to cut 2 pieces of fabric to make this project. So the first one is you'll need a small rectangle, and this is for the key tab, which you'll be sewing to the inside of the bag. So I cut my rectangle 4 inches by 2.5 inches, and you'll likely want to put Shape-Flex interfacing on this particular piece. So I went ahead and pressed this. I first pressed it wrong sides together in half, and then I pressed in toward the center crease, kind of like double fold bias tape. Okay, so that's what that looks like. And then after pressing, I top stitched both of the long edges using an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so then you can either use a D-ring, a 1-inch D-ring, or a 3/4 of an inch wide D-ring. Either one will work depending on how snug you want the D-ring on your fabric. So then you'll just slide the D-ring onto the fabric while having it folded in half, and both of the raw edges will be aligned. And then you'll just actually sew this D-ring into one of your lining pieces. So since this will work for any bag, I just went ahead and cut out a portion of the Baker Street bag main panel. So this is either the front or the back of the bag. And you can choose wherever you want the D-ring to be in the bag, if you want it lower or higher. You just want to keep in mind if there's any zippered areas, like in the Baker Street bag, you want to keep it well away from that zipper area. So I'm going to have it about halfway down, and I'm just going to sew that in place using an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and that secures the D-ring. And if you prefer to have a shorter tab, you can as well. This is the length that I have in that Sloan travel bag. Okay, so next you'll need to cut fabric for this portion right here. So I went ahead and cut my fabric 22 inches by 2 3/4 of an inch. So here's my fabric, and then I just went ahead and folded it right sides together so that both of the long edges met. And then I stitched this using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance from one end to the other. So then you'll need to turn the fabric right side out. And I'm going to use my fast turn tool to do that. So the fast turn tool has 2 pieces. One is a tube. This is a 1/2 inch tube, and then it also comes with a thin wire with a corkscrew on one end. So this corkscrew is what will help us pull the fabric right side out. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this fabric inside the tube, or rather the tube inside the fabric. And then I'm just going to push it all the way to the end so that the tube comes out the other side. And then the corkscrew goes through the tube, and then you just need to twist the corkscrew so that it goes through the fabric. The corkscrew is what grabs the fabric and what will pull through so you can get it right side out. So as you can see, it's really super easy. And then you just need to release that corkscrew. Okay, so next you'll be pressing this so that the seam is in the middle. So the seam won't be on, oh, where's my seam? There you go. So the seam will be right in the middle, just like that. So you'll press that flat. And then I have another piece that I've prepared. So as you can see, that seam is right down the middle, and I also pressed each of the short ends toward the inside by a 1/2 inch so that all of the raw edges would be enclosed on the inside. Okay, so next you'll need a piece of elastic. If you're cutting the fabric the same as what I did for this demonstration, You'll need a piece of elastic that is 16 inches long, and you can either use 1/2 inch wide elastic or 5/8 of an inch. Either one will work. And I'm going to use my bodkin to help me get this through the casing. So I'm going to secure the bodkin to one end, and the bodkin has sort of a metal ring that you just go ahead and push down to lock everything tight in place. And then I'm going to push this through the casing. So I'm just going to go ahead and I can feel the metal through the fabric, so I'm going to kind of push it along, and then continuing pushing it the rest of the way through. You just want to make sure when you run out of elastic on this end to secure it with something. I'm just going to place a wonder clip on here when I get to the end. All right, there's my wonder clip. You just want to make sure that elastic is at least 1/8 of an inch in, so it's not showing on the right side of the fabric. Okay, so I'm going to pull this bodkin the rest of the way through, and then release the metal ring and place another wonder clip on this end. So you'll take this over to the sewing machine, place a swivel clip on either end, and then you'll fold the end and secure it, stitching about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the fabric. So that finishes off this piece. When your bag is all finished, when you've sewn the bag together, whether you're making the Baker Street bag or any other bag, this will work for any bag, you can just go ahead and clip this in the finished bag. One end will clip into the D-ring that's in your lining, and then the other end will clip on to your keys. So you can have any key ring on there, that'll clip right on there. So hope you enjoyed that demonstration, and again, you can use that for nearly any bag that you're making, and keep your keys always at a spot you know, because I use a really small purse, but I'm always having to rifle through and find my keys, and if I had them clipped in a spot that I always knew where they would be, it would save me a lot of time, especially in the dark, walking to the house in the cold. We had single digits here in Chicago overnight for the last few days, so definitely don't want to be standing outside the front door searching for keys in my bag.